Studio B, Jeremy Jordan alongside Dave McCann. Let's bring in Brady Poppinga to talk about all things BYU football, playing Utah, Big 12, NIL. Lots to discuss with the former Super Bowl champion. Brady, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Always a pleasure to jump on with you.
Thanks for coming on. We always know you bring a strong opinion and well thought out and researched opinion. So let's go. Okay, first off, let's start with our question of the day. When BYU joins the Big 12, obviously it's going to be a tougher slate. 8 or 9 conference games, still TBD there. But we were asking the question, should BYU still play Utah every single year?
Why not? I mean, they're what, 40 minutes up the road there? I mean, why wouldn't you? It's BYU of the North. You got Whittingham up there. You got a bunch of guys that are former BYU guys. I mean, Kalani used to coach there. I just don't – it's a brotherhood, you know. It's a familial thing. All of a sudden, what? You guys are going to be in, different parts of the country. As a family, you're just not going to talk or interact anymore. Pretend, we're not going to be – we're just pretend you don't exist. I know you're 40 minutes down the road there. That's stupid. Let's just be reasonable here. You got to keep the rivalry going. You got to play each other. I know it's taxing emotionally and all those kinds of things on each program, but it doesn't matter. It's to me, it's the right thing to do because you're so close and you're so interconnected in so many different ways that it would be just a shame to not compete. And the reality is Utah proved last year you can go through the gauntlet of playing BYU and also your conference schedule and still win the conference and have a phenomenal season, even though you may even lose to your rivalry. So I know, and so many people over in Utah, you guys are nuts. Winning and losing that game does not determine the success or failure of the season. I hate when people say that. It's just one game. Now it's great. It's fun. It's emotional because it is interconnected, like I talked about. But Utah also proved that. I mean, they had a phenomenal – if they could have just had some safety over-the-top help against Ohio State, they almost won the Rose Bowl for the first time in the history of the program. I mean, that would have gone down as one of the greatest seasons in Utah football history, and they lost to our BYU Cougars. So it has to happen, and it's good for both programs, and it's good for the community as long as everybody keeps into perspective and doesn't go absolutely just crazy drunk on this kind of stuff because most people don't get drunk on alcohol. They get drunk on the rivalry game. And as long as people can stay sober, guess what? We're going to be good. Everybody's going to be fine. And like I said, it's going to be mutually beneficial for both programs. And that's really what it's all about.
The zealots on the fringes certainly like to have their say, but you're right. The bulk of the state loves and appreciates this game, and neighbors against neighbors, family members against family members, and as you mentioned, teammates who used to play with each other in high school in that game. What do you think of the mentality of, now that BYU is going into the P5 as well, this argument that the schedule's just too hard, we can't have 11 or 12 really hard games, we've got to have some cupcakes in there if we want to get to the promised land, which so few teams ever get to?
Well, there has to be some schedule balance, as long as the playoff is going to be a challenge. And as long as other teams are doing it, in terms of they're softening their schedule up so that they can basically just focus their energies on their conference games. You have to be reasonable. I experienced that when we played at BYU. I mean, we played like the first 3 weeks. It was like Notre Dame, Stanford, USC, Boise State when they had the 50 some odd game home winning streak. I mean, it was a gauntlet. And it's like, yeah, it might have been nice to throw Murray State in there. It might have been nice to throw Weber State. I don't know. So that you have to be reasonable with your scheduling. You just can't, play this gauntlet of the schedule because it's inherently going to put you at a great disadvantage. I mean, you got to look at the big picture. If you really want to win a conference championship, if you really want to win a national championship, you have to adapt according to the environment. And if there was a playoff that had, let's say, 16 teams, and it was about playing your best ball at the end of the year, which, by the way, that's a true, you could call it structure. That's how every other sport in the history of sports has been. Then, yeah, you may not be afraid to take some chances, and travel across the country or play some teams at home. It actually helps the regular season because that if you lose those games or you come out of them, kind of struggling, it's not going to be the death knell to your chances of winning a conference championship or even making the playoff to win the whole thing. So you have to be adaptive, and I think Tom does a nice job of that. Kalani's, they're both very reasonable in regards to that, and they understand that. And so you just got to go according to the environment.
We're talking with Brady Poppinga on BYU Sports Nation. We were talking about this, too. We don't know if BYU is going to play 8 or 9 conference games in the Big 12. Certainly if they play 8, there is room for more high-profile games outside of just Utah, right, which is high profile regardless of how good or bad the Utes are. Let's say it's 9 conference games. You only have 3 non-conference games. Do you still want BYU to schedule a high-profile other game that isn't Utah in the non-conference, or is Utah enough to try and, compete in the Big 12 and play in the best bowl you can?
Well, I mean, in the current situation, yeah, you're going to, I would say you play Utah and then you find a couple of teams that are, you call them basically glorified practices. You know, you get your starters out there, get them lathered up, and then you get your second guys in there and let them kind of develop, helps your program. But like I said, you just don't want to over-tax yourself in all those non-conference games because the conference games are so vital just to have a chance, not only to win the conference, but to have access to the playoffs. So, like I said, if the playoff expands to where you have 8, 12, 16 teams, okay, then you can schedule up. You know, you can go after the best schedule possible, knowing that that challenge is going to only help your team gain momentum as they start to enter into the latter parts of the season when that's really where you want to be peaking. And in a true playoff system, that's what it rewards. It rewards the teams that make the greatest incremental improvement from week 1 all the way till the end of the regular season. And so, like I mentioned in my previous answer, it's all about the scheduling environment. It's all about how you win the conference, how you win the championship, how you gain access to winning the national championship. So I would say in the current situation, you play Utah and then you find really two teams that are glorified practices and you take it from there. And then if things change, you look to schedule up.
I like what you said there about access. Access is now what BYU will have along with every other P5 in the country when they join the Big 12 here in 14 months. How do you think they'll do out of the gate? And as far as long-term success, how long do you think it'll take before they contend for a Big 12 title?
Well, the positive is, so if you compared it, you know, the best thing I could do is just kind of compare it to what other teams have gone through, whether it's Utah or TCU, when they transitioned from the Mountain West to the Big 12 and Pac-12, respectfully. They both struggled tremendously because it was such a jump from the Mountain West Conference to those bigger conferences. And the biggest adjustment you have to make, I remember this in the pros, you know, and you hear coaches talk about this too, is that every single week you're playing top-notch talent. I remember the NFL, it's like, you know, every week you're playing like unbelievable running backs and offensive players. And then I compared that to college. It's like, okay, we play USC. Okay, we're playing Reggie Bush. We're playing Lindell White. We're playing Matt Leinart. We're playing phenomenal talent. And then the next week, you're just playing guys. You're like, these guys wouldn't even make our second team. You know, this is a bad team. We're going to beat these guys. And it would kind of be like that, especially like when you're in the Mountain West. Now, when you get to these P5 conferences, every single week, it is a grind. Every single week, you have to show up sharp, ready to go. You cannot afford to have a down week to where you have any letdowns, or else you're going to get beat, even though you're fully capable of beating that opponent. And so to me, it's a mindset change. And the positive with BYU is their independent schedule has actually been even more of a challenging schedule, in my opinion, than a traditional P5 schedule, because the majority of the top P5 teams that they've had to play as independents have either been neutral fields or away games. They haven't had many trotting into LaVell Edwards Stadium. That's not going to be the case when they have a P5 schedule. They're going to have a nice balance of having to go visit these top teams, and then they're going to have to come to the mountains and play in the elevation and that dry heat, whether it's at the start of the season. So BYU is more prepared than both TCU and Utah were in jumping up to a P5 schedule, because that's just kind of what they've been doing over the last 4, 5, 6 years, maybe 10 years since they started independence. But even a more difficult sense. So I don't think there's going to be as big of a transition period for BYU football. But the biggest thing they're still going to have to deal with is this image, this self-image idea. I do think last year that was a big reason why they were successful. And that's because it was a validation outside of themselves that, hey, we are a P5 program. We just got accepted to the Big 12. For years, you kind of had to have that mentality on your own, which is far more difficult. And at times, you felt lesser than. You felt like, man, maybe we weren't P5 because there wasn't as much success against P5 programs. So with the schedule they've had independence, I see BYU stepping in, depending on, again, their roster. If they lose Hall and you're rebuilding your offensive line and defense, you lose all your playmakers, you got to rebuild. Okay, that's by nature, whether you were part of the P5 program or the P5 conference for 10 years or not, that's going to be a transition, because you got to develop guys to get into those crucial roles. But if, you got an established quarterback, Hall still around, and a bunch of these other guys still around, maybe they make some hay in the transfer portal, knowing that guys are going to be able to step right in and play in that environment at BYU, which is electric, and then, play top college football or P5 conference type football, they could do well. So, I mean, like this team this year would be right at the top of the Big 12. They would be right there contending as one of the top teams. But again, next year's a whole nother year.
We're talking to Brady Poppinga on BYU Sports Nation. I agree with you. I think BYU got that like new dad strength as a Power 5 engaged team where it was like, hey, let's go.
Old man strength. We've always had old man strength.
Always that, mature 26-year-old offensive lineman, return missionary married.
Well, by golly, if we can take care of our kids during night, we surely can go out and be an 18-year-old, can't we? Oh, heard that excuse from so many stupid rivalry head coaches. Stop making excuses. Go beat us. Yeah. That's what you got to do. Don't sit there and act like we're a bunch of old folks with these old man strength. Anyway, sorry, I went on a little tangent there.
No, I hate it too. I hate it too.
It's therapy.
Let's talk to you about name, image, and likeness. Obviously, a huge conversation in college football and college sports right now. People, free agency, transfer portal. What are your thoughts on this new era of collegiate athletics, particularly in football around NIL?
Well, the first thing, the fact that these guys that contribute so much value to a billion-dollar business, which is NCAA football, that we know of, by the way, the fact that they're getting paid is phenomenal. They should get paid. They should get paid as much money as somebody is willing to pay them. That is what they call capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. And by golly, if you're going to go out and bring that much value as some of these guys do to that industry, you should be compensated. And I'm very happy that's the case. Now, the big concern you're hearing from a lot of people is, well, it's going to change the face of college football. You're going to be able to just cherry pick the best teams and buy the best teams. You get the boosters involved, and they're going to just pay these guys millions of dollars to come in and transfer through the transfer portal because it is so wide open. And we're just going to have these super teams. They're going to dominate the college football landscape. Well, for one, aren't there already kind of super teams as we know it? Mm-hmm. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. I mean, it's kind of been the same guys in that at ESPN Invitational Playoff for the last however many years, right? I mean, you got, a few outliers there, but what's different there? Well, the thing that I find interesting is those same kind of teams are the ones that are complaining about this. And why is that? Well, the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, to your naive ears, people have been paying for college football talent for years, and it's been illegal. And yeah, it's been the Alabamas, it's been the USCs, it's been these teams that have been elite. And not a lot of it's been validated, but if you go talk to guys that have gone to these schools and, now that the landscape is where guys are getting paid, you will find that they got paid to go to those schools. And these schools now are upset. They lost their competitive advantage to recruit. Who really wants to go to Tuscaloosa or, wherever, whatever the name of that town is in Alabama? Who really wants to go there? Come on. Yeah, if you pay a guy 6 figures, yeah, he'll go there if he's making more money. Same with other places. But now that advantage is gone. So they're complaining, oh, this is terrible for college football. No, it's terrible for you guys because you no longer have this advantage because you're willing to break the rules or find a system that circumvents these rules. Now everybody can pay legally. The second thing is I hear a lot of these former players that are coming out saying how it's terrible for the game and it's going to ruin the game of college football. Well, you're being a player hater. I find it to be more of a sense of jealousy than a sense of reasonability in terms of saying that it's going to ruin the whole game because guys are getting paid. Because the reality is, guys, you look at all the professional sports. Baseball is a great example. New York Yankees, they attempt to buy championships on a yearly basis, okay? They don't do it. They don't win the championship every year, okay? In the NFL, there have been a number of years to where teams in free agency have attempted to buy themselves a championship, couldn't do it. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were some of the most active players in the free agent market for the last 4 or 5 years, paying guys tons of money. And we know how they ended up. Yeah, they picked number 1 overall, which means they were terrible last year. So that's the same in college football. Building a team is a lot more than just raw talent. Building a team is about loyalty, cohesiveness, chemistry. It's about having guys from the grassroots that are walk-ons, 0-star, that got paid nothing, that came in and became prominent players. And look at the BYU Cougars. You had 2 of the best players arguably on the team, and Tyler Algier and also Peyton Wilger, that are walk-ons, these grassroots guys that came in with hardly, any fanfare, now are 2 of their top players. That's what builds a program. And so it's going to take more than just paying for players to create super teams. It's going to take actually team building capabilities. Now, you got to give credit to guys like Nick Saban. You know, although they were able to pay for players before it was actually legal, he's done a phenomenal job of building good teams. I mean, those guys are some of the best team players you'll find when you talk about Alabama players. And so it's still today the same as it's been always in college football, which is you still have to build the team to be successful. And there's a lot more to that than just going out and acquiring players and acquiring talent.
Well said. Well said, as always. Brady, we always appreciate the insight into everything and the real talk.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to jump on with you guys. Hope I didn't offend anybody. If I did, then tough.
Deal with it. Yeah. Brady, thanks, man.
Coming up.